Hey everyone, and welcome to the Atomic Cinema Experiment, or science fiction movie podcast here at Fuzz TV. I am Peter, and joining me, as always, is Tara.
Greetings, citizens.
We, every week, get together and we talk about a science fiction movie that we watched, and we started last month, and the first one was via Patreon vote. We started Jurassic Park, the franchise. We did the first movie, we talked about that for a pretty lengthy amount of time, and it's been about a month.
Gave it ridiculous scores.
And it's been about a month, so it's time for The Lost World Jurassic Park, the second film in the franchise. This came out in 1997. We will start spoiler free. We'll give you a warning before we go to spoilers, and yeah, we'll go through it pretty in depth, I imagine. This is like another one where even though obviously I don't hold it anywhere near in the same regard as the first one, because it's a movie that came out when I was a kid, I tended to watch movies a lot, so I've still seen this like a ridiculous number of times probably.
Surprisingly, I haven't.
Interesting.
I can tell you, I just, as it somewhat interesting anecdote, maybe. What a disclaimer. After Jurassic Park came out and Crichton wrote a sequel, the Lost World novel, it was the first novel that I had read as a young lady. And I was so proud that I actually got through it and loved it. And it was the first time that I went to a movie after reading the book first and was very disappointed. So even though I was pretty young and super high on Jurassic Park, even then, I don't know, it just disappointed me. And I got so many more dinosaurs, which is all I ever wanted. And I still didn't rewatch this one a whole lot.
It's funny, I feel like when you're a kid, you convince yourself to like just about everything, especially when it's something that's connected to something else that you do love, right? So obviously
I'm guilty of that now.
Yeah. Love Jurassic Park. Lost World comes out, it's in the theaters, and it's one of those things where there's some moments in here, there's good scenes, there's good ideas here or there.
It's still Spielberg, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, it is definitely a much weaker film, and it's one of those things where looking back on it now as an adult, it's one of those things where even as a kid I knew there was something not quite right about this, but I just never kind of admitted it. But I always remember feeling like this was kind of had some weird qualities, and I think it's not a bad movie by any means, but there's a lot of weird choices from a structural point of view. There's a lot of weird elements to the film. There's definitely a general feeling of we didn't really know what to do next, or maybe that was in the book, I don't know. But it definitely has that feeling to it, and it has something that should be the focus of the idea of the movie ends up feeling like it's tacked on because they leave it until the third act to instead we get a rehash of being on an island again for 2/3 of the movie, and it does this weird thing where it then flips and it feels like, oh, we're just ripping off King Kong by having this ending. And then but at the same time, if you actually look at the movie, the most interesting stuff is in that last chunk. The most visually interesting, exciting stuff is definitely the T-Rex doing stuff in that, at the end.
Yeah.
So, but at the same time, it takes so long to get there. It feels like a weird tangent, and feels tacked on as an ending. But it's not like there's a satisfying ending before that either, though. If you cut that stuff off and just had it end right before that, it would be a really disappointing movie because there'd be no ramp up, there'd be no exciting climax. I think some of the characters are a lot more dull than the first movie. Obviously, there's a couple of ones that we like, but because obviously E. Malcolm's great, he's back, and it's a shame that the one where he gets to be the main star is the one that's really kind of meh overall.
I don't know. I actually don't really like him in this movie.
Okay.
At all. I really don't, and I am total Jeff Goldblum fangirl, but I don't think there's some parts in this movie where he's genuinely bad, and there are other I couldn't believe when I was watching it this last time, I thought maybe Jeff Goldblum isn't a leading guy. This movie seems to show that he's better in an ensemble as the quirky one. And although I love The Fly, and I think that movie is awesome. We'll review it eventually, and he definitely holds that film. I couldn't help but think that maybe he's supposed to be a supporting character. Supporting actor.
I wouldn't say I thought it was bad per se. I definitely noticed they toned down his character. Like, you know, he still had a bit of Ian Malcolm in him, but he wasn't as consistently.
Not really.
Like, they made him a lot more kind of, I don't know, normal, I guess. You know, they made him like a lot more of a normal dad.
Yeah. Nobody wants that though.
Which is kind of weird. And he's got a girlfriend played by Julianne Moore. Plays a character called Sarah, and I mean she's fine. Like she's like. Do you know what's really weird about this cast looking back now is that I'm noticing all these people that I know from other things from later or whatever, and Julianne Moore's not even that young here. She's in her 30s already. Like she's not like she's like, you know, just like, you know, 21. And
no,
like,
she looks age appropriate for like Ian Malcolm.
But I mean, she does, but she comes across looking really young to me because I'm just so used to her being in her like late 40s. Like, you know, she's like 50 now. Like I'm used to her age now. So when I saw her in this, I'm like, man, she looks dead young, and she's not really. She's older than me still, even at my age now. But like, if she feels really young because I'm used to her of a, you know, a later age, and then you get Vince Vaughn for some reason in this movie, and I'm not sure like what's going on there. You have a character named Eddie who's around, who's got all the tech and the gear and stuff, and
who is the best character.
Yeah, Joe, I like him as well. I'm disappointed with how long he lasts in this movie. I always have been, even as a kid.
I know.
It sucks. And of course as a kid again, and this is one of those things where I really feel the sequelitis of it is that we had to have a kid again. And then and it's not that the kid herself is bad. She has one really bad scene, you know, later on in the movie, but like she's not like annoying or whatever. Like when she's around, she's not like a bad character in that sense. She's just it feels like we have to do the kid again, and the third movie does that too, and we'll get to that obviously when we get to the third one. But there was lots of things in this where I kind of felt like you didn't really like, because one of the potential options is because like, they go into this island knowing how dangerous it is this time, and that's a big part of the plot. Like, I feel like, okay, if you're going to sit at an island again, then really play with the idea that you're prepared this time and that you're going to use tactics to try and like be safe. And you know, I probably wasn't thinking about this when I was a kid when I watched it because I was too young to really care or, you know, think ahead. But watching this now, I think to myself, well, if I saw this now for the first time, right? As Jurassic Park came out, I loved it. I saw this for the first time. My assumption here, given the first like 30 minutes of this movie, is that okay, this time the characters going in knowing it's dangerous, they're bringing equipment, they're going to be tactical, and the fun of this is going to be how they kind of outsmart the dinosaurs and how they use their brains knowing that it's dangerous. And we've got a safari expert, we've got, you know, like people who are used to dealing with animals, and we play it that way, right? And they don't really, like, all their equipment gets wrecked like absurdly quickly, and then they're just running from dinosaurs again.
Yeah, well, there is a lot of sabotage that happens.
For one side of it, and then there's also one really stupid thing that a pair of characters do that just ask for trouble, and then.
But it leads to a great scene.
I mean, it's probably the best scene in the movie. The trailer scene is probably the best scene in the movie. Unfortunately, after that, everything else on the island is kind of meh. So I think we're both lukewarm in this. Again, I wouldn't really call it bad because I mean Spielberg still knows how to direct scenes. He still knows how to, you know, do things properly. I also wonder if there's maybe a failure to ramp things up sufficiently, because again we've just got T-Rexes and Velociraptors, and I'm not saying they had to do what the third movie goes on to do and, you know, have this or Jurassic World rather, where they create like a new dinosaur, but like surely there was something else scary, like that was maybe not bigger than a T-Rex, but something that was different that we could play with. Like, they could. I mean, we still have the T-Rex. I'm not saying not have the T-Rex. I'm just saying something new. Whereas, you know, really the one thing that I noticed in this that really sticks out as new is the Stegosaurus. There was no Stegosaurus in the first one.
Oh yeah, I was going to bring that up. Yeah. That's my favorite dinosaur since I was a kid, and we finally got a Stegosaurus in there, and it looks great, and that scene's really cool too. But we don't really get a whole lot. I wish I had more Stegos. I
don't know what my favorite dinosaur is.
T-Rex?
T-Rex is pretty cool. I like a Triceratops. Stegosaurus is
I like the
pretty cool.
Thagomizer.
Is that the one with the hard head?
No, the Thagomizer is what the spiky tail is called on a Stegosaurus.
Ah, okay.
And it comes from, okay, so do you ever read the Far Side, the comics?
No.
Okay. It's gonna be hard to explain. They're like one panel comics. They're just funnies. They're not like a comic book funny. But by Gary Larson. And he every now and then will do like these caveman ones. And there's like this there's one where there's a caveman giving like a demonstration, like a PowerPoint demonstration of the things to be aware of on the Stegosaurus, and he says, "This is called the Thagomizer. We named it after like Thagius or someone, or Thag, or our long lost comrade or something who was killed by one." And it was so. I mean, that's not funny the way I say it, but I swear it's hilarious in the comic.
Well, take your word for it.
And it became so popular that paleontologists actually call it officially now the Thagomizer. That's the actual name of it.
That's
the spiky tail.
That's an interesting bit of trivia. I'm glad you told us that.
Yeah.
So I would try something funny about this. As I was watching it, is that you see Tim and Alex at the start of the movie, and all I could think watching this, because these are young actors, they're kids, and like they had their big moment with Jurassic Park, and all I could think was watching this scene, I was like, I bet those two were pissed they just got a cameo in this. Like, I bet they were like, yeah, we'll be in the sequel, we'll do, because it's not like, you know, Sam Neill and, you know, like
Laura
Dern. Like, it's like with them, it's like, okay, they've got other movies they want to do, they've got careers, like, you know, Sam Neill's a serious actor, you know, like he wants to go do these other things, but with the kids, I'm like, they'll take anything. They're kids, like they just want to be a part of the success, and they get a little cameo at the start, and that's like it. Bye Alex and Tim, we'll never see you again.
Yeah, I think they say like 2 lines each, maybe.
Yeah, something like that. We do get a little bit of Hammond. I wonder if Attenborough's health was maybe, I mean, I don't know if like maybe this was just like he just wanted to do a couple of scenes and that was it, and that's why they have him look like he's really sick, or if he was actually getting sick in real life and this was just the compromise of, okay, we'll do a couple of scenes where he's sitting in a bed.
Yeah, I guess he wasn't alive much longer after this.
No, I don't think so, no. So unfortunately I have less Attenborough lines to quote, and
he doesn't really have a lot of quotable.
He doesn't, but he does
movie.
have, by God, they're flourishing. Like, he does say that at one point. So
I wouldn't have remembered. I just watched it.
Like, I'll be honest, I was trying to look for good lines to say from Hammond, and he doesn't really have any in this movie. It's not like the first one where he has all these quotable lines. He's just, you know, he's only in 2 scenes and he doesn't have really much. So in terms of spoiler free, obviously the dinosaurs, like the practical stuff still looks great.
Yeah, I agree. I think the CGI holds up pretty well too.
Yeah, I'd say the CGI is a little nudge above the first one in the sense that it's a few years later, it's a little bit better. You know, it doesn't look as blurry as the first one did. You know,
they do a lot more with the dinosaurs because, you know, the technology is advanced, so we can like run up alongside them now instead of just seeing them from afar, or there's not as much practical. I think there's a little bit more CGI than it is practical, but
there's a lot of practical when it comes to the T-Rex heads. I was really noticing that. And the ones in the cages. Yeah, they were getting a lot of use out of the heads, and obviously the baby T-Rex is all practical pretty much all the time. So,
how did you watch this? Did you have a Blu-ray?
I do indeed have the Blu-ray. I have right here my trilogy. That's why.
Very impressive. I streamed it, and I streamed it on 4K, and maybe it's a TV setting, but I messed around with it and it looked really bad. All the night scenes looked horrible, and I don't know why.
I will say the transfers in the Blu-rays aren't like Like, you know how some movies get those great, like, expensive restorations? Like, if you watch Alien or Aliens now, if you watch 2001, they look like they were shot yesterday because they put so much
beautiful.
effort. They're gorgeous. Universal, for whatever reason, I've never really felt that they do that to their movies, and I think the Jurassic Park movies stick out to me. Actually, Back to the Future looks pretty good, so maybe they did work on some of them, but Jurassic Park, for whatever reason, is rather than remaster it, they've just taken whatever like film print or HD master they've had lying around. And so I think it's a combination of that plus maybe just the streaming bit rate. Like, you know, it's the service itself is just
Maybe I found a lot of the night scenes like looked really blotchy, especially the faces, and I couldn't figure it out if it was just my TV or the fact that I was streaming it, because I don't really have that much experience with.
It's not a TV. That sounds like it's compression. It sounds like the streaming service is just not pumping enough data per minute or per second.
That's a shame. I mean, I have the Chromecast Ultra 4K. But yeah, it was, I don't know, it did not look...
Was that you trying to brag because I showed my Blu-ray off? Like, I'll one up, you have the 4K Chromecast.
I don't know, I mean, physical media is probably always going to look better than streaming.
It does. I've not switched to 4K yet. As I understand it, 4K streaming is about on par with 1080p Blu-ray in the sense that there's a bit of a trade-off because it's streaming versus physical media, but the resolution is obviously so much higher that it kind of makes up for it.
Well, that's the thing too. Like, I have the 4K streaming, but my TV is not 4K. It's like 1080.
Yeah, you'll be getting 1080. Yeah.
So I don't know if that's like messing with it, but even still,
what you're describing,
things look better when I pick 4K versus 1080 on my 1080 TV.
No, that's true. They do because they're higher bit rates, basically. So if you got access to them and you can play them, or the streaming service will pump it to you, and it'll just you'll get 1080 version of it, then cool. But
yeah, I don't know, it's a shame because a lot of the best scenes are at night, and it just kind of looked blotchy, and I wasn't sure.
What you're describing is a bit rate problem. That is the streaming service. But I will say, even
it's only night scenes.
Well, no, that makes sense. It's always like, have you never noticed this before? That night scenes always suffer. Like dark scenes are always where the compression hits it. You'll find
I guess that's true.
When you're watching stuff.
I did notice that in the last season of Game of Thrones.
Yeah, that absolutely. It is so true. You need way more data for nighttime scenes. That's why physical media usually wins out, because they always try and cut corners with streaming. They always want to make it as low as possible so they can get away with like less data, but it hurts. It doesn't look as good.
Well, let this be a cautionary tale to myself and other listeners.
Streaming would be great if they just up the bit rates to things, but they're so worried that people's internets aren't good enough, or the data caps and things like that. They want to keep it as low as possible. There should be an option. There should be an option for people who have good internet to like just turn like, hey, give me the high quality stream, like pump it up.
I mean, if I choose to watch 4K, then yeah, give me the high quality one.
Yeah, but even if you're still in 1080p, like, because like you can have 1080p and then have 1080p with 3 times the bit rate. Because to put it in perspective, a movie on like Netflix at 1080p, the entire size of that file's usually about 5 gig, right? On a Blu-ray, the movie's probably closer to 35 gig. Like, that's how much of a difference in data there is per second kind of thing. So, basically, physical media, as much as it's maybe more of a pain and not as convenient, is actually superior for a number of reasons.
Yeah.
But but what I was saying about the Blu-ray,
I don't have a Blu-ray collection.
Is they look kind of soft. The Jurassic Park movies, they're not as like pristine as some of the big restorations that we have. So hopefully they get that treatment at some point. Maybe the 8K revolution will be like, you know what, we finally have to remaster these damn things because they don't look any better now because we've not done any work to them. So what was I getting at? Before you tangent this down.
Oh, it still look good?
Will still look good.
The movie looks good, like CGI looks good.
Oh right, yes. I mean, the cinematography
the
cinematography looks solid. I had no blotchiness because I was watching on the aforementioned the Blu-ray, but no, like it's still from a technical point of view well put together. I don't feel like the story is really there to justify the exercise. I think one of two things had to happen. You either take the idea that like some asshole wants to put the park in the city, and you have dinosaurs run amok in a busy city, right? In this case, San Diego. Or you do what I was saying earlier, where no, you have a team come to the island, and you can't treat it like aliens, right? You have a team who's prepared, not necessarily with guns. And I mean, they have guns, but like not necessarily to kill everything, but they're prepared to protect themselves.
More prepared than people who are ambushed. Yeah,
exactly. And you go that route. You go the route of like a more proactive team of people who are ready to go. Either of those things would be a nice flip on the formula, whereas this doesn't flip it. It just kind of does it again. And I mean, if nothing else, it just proves Ian Malcolm right from the start. This is a bad idea. All this is a bad idea. We shouldn't be doing any of this. And then he's right. We shouldn't be doing any of this ever.
I don't like the last third of the film. I don't think it's like the more exciting part, and maybe you're right.
No, I don't like it either.
No, I don't like that it's kind of a ripoff of other films and of like King Kong and Godzilla.
But listen, I don't like it either. I'm saying that there's the few shots you get of the T-Rex in the. We're not in spoilers, damn it! Why are you doing this? With the T-Rex, when the T-Rex is in the city, like. The most interesting visuals in the entire movie is a T-Rex interacting with stuff that wasn't on the island, right? It's seeing regular civilians get scared and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean, it is a new movie, but it does feel really tacked on.
Well, it does, yeah.
To the point where I thought we already had an ending.
The problem...
Like, oh yeah, we still have this thing to do.
The problem is not the concept of the dinosaurs in a city. The problem is that should be the movie from Act 1. Act 1 of the movie...
I agree with that.
Act 1 of the movie should be dinosaurs arriving at this compound and like maybe Malcolm like try to argue with people. Oh, this is going to be a disaster.
Getting the character of Ian Malcolm onto an island of dinosaurs again is kind of like okay, like you really have to. I don't know. It feels forced.
Well, they make up a love interest so that you'll feel the need to go and get her to rescue her.
He does love the ladies. That's canonical.
That's canonical, yes. And he likes having kids, but not being with them, as we find out.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if I like this movie.
Yeah, I'm not. I can say I'm lukewarm on it at best. I don't hate it. I don't think it's like it's hateable. I think it's a really bland sequel. It's got a couple of standout scenes, but it's a really bland sequel.
I haven't read the book in like years. But I remember it being very, very different. Like there are some aspects that are the same. I remember trying to get to that part of the island that has the little radio tower and the fear of the raptors and the high hide and stuff like that. I think most of the characters are there, but I think with the exception of a few things. I think the sequel in the book is very, very different from this movie, which is odd to me because this movie feels like we need to have a sequel, but what do we write about? What do we make it? It's like, well, you have an author writing the sequel, so there's your story.
But they altered it so much.
It's almost like, well, we have to get... we have to give the people what they liked about the first movie again. So if that's not in that book, then make sure that you write it in somehow. And it just becomes like super messy.
Like I say, I would describe this as bland. I would describe it as a very bland sequel.
I know. So bizarre to say that because there's dinosaurs in it.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the only sequel that Spielberg's ever done.
I think so.
And
not The Color Purple too.
And I don't think because it took him a while to do this because after Jurassic Park and Schindler's List, it took 4 years for this to come out, and I feel like he needed a break. And I don't know if he loved making this movie. I think
he did another Indiana Jones.
Oh, you're right. He's done sequels. Yeah, he did all the Indiana Jones. Sorry. Okay, so he has done 3 other sequels, but they're all part of the same series. You're right. So Indy's the exception. But I think he felt pressured into making this. I don't think this was something he creatively was like passionate about doing.
I don't think so either. Yeah.
I don't feel it. I don't feel it in the movie at all.
There are some really good like moments where it's like, okay, there's Spielberg, there's the magic, there's the wonder, and then it's like, what is this? Like, he knows this is bad, right?
That's what I think it was a paycheck movie. This was, do you know what I think it was? I think he needed a new house or something, and they were offering a shit ton of money. And he's like, yeah, you know what? I'll do it, and I'll get my new house.
Yeah. He did go through a nasty divorce.
Yeah, maybe this was recouping the divorce.
I don't remember when it was, but yeah.
Or if it was before this, then maybe some alimony or something. I don't know. He's, like everyone always jokes about Nicolas Cage having like 5 alimonies to pay, so that's why he's always in all these shitty little movies, because he's
gotta pay off all those trilobites he's buying.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we'll give the warning then, and we'll dive into spoilers and work through the movie and talk about it. So full spoilers then for the movie. Before we start the spoiler section, though, I will thank some patrons or Patreon producers for the month of, at least the time recording, December, which is David Short, Alison M. Fordyce, Cindy Palacios, and Tyler Hess. Thank you to them. That means that they're patrons at the $20 or up tier. Tara,
Whoop, whoop.
Explain Patreon to people.
Oh, yeah. If you like what we do and you want to support the channel, you can go to our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/MileFuzzTV. You can donate as little as $1 per month. It won't get you the producer credit, but you will get bonus episodes of the Ace. Mm-hmm. And they're usually very fun, very goofy movies that maybe are a bit too goofy for the main channel. So you get to be extra special and check out Rotor and Time Cop. And
I would argue Time Cop was almost like a regular movie we could have done. That was, I think
maybe one day we'll release it onto YouTube and be like, here's a preview of what you can get for being a patron. And it's kind of our way of saying, sorry, this probably should have been on the main channel.
No. You gotta hold 1 or 2 biggies behind the paywall. You gotta tease people and like, hey.
All right, fine. We'll keep it there for now. It's only $1.
Yeah.
And check it out.
There's a little back catalogue. The most recent one that would have went up would have been Santa Claus Conquers the Martians. Now, admittedly, we tackle some really weird, like, shitty little movies in the bonus episodes, which sometimes can lead to us only having like 25 minutes of actual conversation about the movie. If that happens, like Santa Claus Conquers the Martians, we'll just talk about other stuff for a while.
Yeah, we do a little behind the scenes instead.
So full spoilers then for Lost World. Jumanji? I hate the title of this movie. Can I just say, why is it not Jurassic Park: The Lost World? I hate the fact that they put Lost World first. It pisses me off.
Why is it not just Jurassic Park 2? What's wrong with numbers?
I mean, numbers would be great too, especially since the third one's Jurassic Park 3. Just call it Jurassic Park 2. I hate it. I hate it so much. And that's why I made that mistake. Okay? But yeah, anyway, so yes, The Lost World, Jurassic Park, full spoilers. The movie begins on Isla Sorna. Or is it I forget which one's which. Is Isla Nublar or Isla Sorna?
No, Isla Sorna's right.
Is this
Isla
one?
Nublar is the
first movie.
It's the main line.
Right.
I think so.
Okay, so they start as this very filthy rich British family. They've got the yacht. They've got a whole crew. There's a whole ship's crew here with them. They're on the beach having drinks and food, and the little girl runs off. She wants to feed something or other, and she runs into little dinosaurs, these little ones that probably aren't too dangerous one at a time, but they gang up
like little chickens.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll just say it, like I think this little 1%er had it coming, the little brat.
Oh my god. This scene's actually in the first book, but I don't think they were like a super rich family. I think it's just a family on vacation, and like a little girl she sees like a monkey or something and gets attacked by a compy. Compies are really big in the Jurassic Park book, I know. I don't hate this scene, but it is a little. It's kind of our first red flag as far as like how B movie this is going to be. because it is very reminiscent of something that's kind of, I don't know, like cheap, right?
Sure.
Cheap in the sense of like just a cheap thrill.
I have no particular problems with this scene on its own. In fact, I will say I do kind of love the wonderful transition from the mother screaming when she sees her daughter to Jeff Goldblum just laughing as he's waiting for his train. Not laughing, sorry, yawning. Yeah, sorry, yawning. That's what I meant to say. It kind of sums up his character wonderfully from the first movie.
He's bored by it,
but he is very different in this one. He's kind of like, he's become a bit of an activist to like speak out against dinosaur like resuscitation because like it was such a traumatic experience that he's deeply concerned about it. I mean, who knows if in Jurassic World 3 we're going to get the happy Jeff Goldblum, the Jurassic Park 1 Jeff Goldblum. It feels like this will be the Jeff Goldblum, because I mean the glimpses we got of him in the last one that came out felt more in line with Lost World Jeff Goldblum. If anything, he was more serious and like no fun allowed.
Yeah.
So maybe make the piece that the happy Jeff Goldblum was killed by that T-Rex in Jurassic Park 1, and ever since then he's been this miserable sod who will never have that fire in his eyes again.
Yeah. He was supposed to die, right?
I think so. Yeah, he dies in the book, right? Is that a thing?
He does, and then the sequel does bring him back also.
Oh, does it?
Without
Okay.
addressing it.
That's weird. Okay. So basically what happens is that Malcolm, we find out, wrote a book. He's been mocked on the train. He goes to Hammond. He's been summoned. He meets the kids. We meet the nephew of Hammond, the guy who's now running InGen, sorry to say it properly. Ludlow's his name, and he is like, we're going to, all this money we can make from these dinosaurs, we're going to do it. Yeah. And Malcolm,
this guy's the lead in Full Metal Jacket. He looks so different.
I did not realize that. I recognize him. Do you know what I recognize him from? I recognize him from something.
Fascinating.
Give me a minute. He's been. I mean, he's in Moneyball. He's in The Time Traveler's Wife. He's shown up in a bunch of stuff. He's one of those people who just shows up all over the place. Over the years, I'm just scrolling these IMDb, see if anything else jumps out at me. It's like, hey, I've seen that. Yeah, Natural Born Killers. I mean, I saw that once a long time ago, but he was the grown-up version of Scotty in the Sandlot Kids.
Cool.
Yeah. Wait, why is it called the Sandlot Kids? Is that the UK title?
Is that like a sequel?
No, it's the first movie. I guess it's got a different title in the UK, which I never knew about.
Oh. Yeah, it's just called the Sandlot.
That's what I've always called it. My Blu-ray of it says that on it. But that's the US
You
Blu-ray.
have the Blu-ray?
Yeah, I have. I imported the US Blu-ray of the Sandlot because I like the Sandlot.
Yeah, it's kind of a boys' movie.
I don't even like sports though. I just like the movie.
Yeah, I guess we had to watch it. It was like one of those movies that teacher wants to take a week off of school, so we just put the Sandlot on.
So anyway, where were we? So he's there to see Hammond, and Hammond's there to tell him about the second island. Where this is where they actually bred a lot of the dinosaurs. Even though the first movie certainly made it look like they were doing all the breeding on the main island, but that's neither here nor there.
Whatever.
I mean, why were all the embryos that Nedry was stealing? Why were they there then? If all the breeding was happening on another island?
Well, I think they are born and then they go to the island where they live freely, and graze upon each other. There aren't any fences.
That's true, yeah, no fences. As Goldblum points out, there's no fences this time. But he's like, okay, we're going to send in a team. And he wants to, basically, this incident with the girl has basically loosened the control that Hammond's had of trying to keep all this away from everyone and not let anyone use it for anything. And basically, they're going to let everyone else go in with their troops and their choppers and start using it. And Hammond wants to prove that it's a real wildlife preserve that we should keep and maintain and stay away from. And he wants
to be a national park.
Yeah, and he wants to send in a team of 4. including Goldblum. He's got like a tech expert, a photographer, and then Sarah. And the idea that those four will have a small footprint and can go in, sneak around the outside of the island, and get photos of what it's like, and prove to everyone that they should leave it alone. But
it's bizarre to me that he would go to Ian Malcolm for this decision
and not Alan Grant.
Yeah, I don't really buy it. I just don't. Like, Malcolm was against the park from the very beginning. Why would he want to send somebody who's already been traumatized by dinosaurs?
I think the argument is as someone with experience, and my only headcanon for this that I can explain it away is that he already asked the others and they all said no, F off. And it was left with just Malcolm was the only option left. Or because he was sending his girlfriend, and the girlfriend was definitely going to go because she's feisty and wants to go see some dinosaurs, he knew that he had to make an offer to Malcolm as well. It was almost like a, hey, you can go and like be the boyfriend and keep her safe.
See, I thought he would send her because
he wants
then
Malcolm.
Ian Malcolm would have to say yes.
But why would he need Malcolm to go though?
Why? Yeah, I know.
Yeah. If anything, I thought it was like just a neat thing that, oh, well, he happens to be dating someone who's useful, so I'll manipulate the situation. So Hammond appears to be a nicer person in this movie in the sense that he's basically trying to keep this as a preserve that can, the dinosaurs can be happy, and there's a little bit of like, let's not be cruel to the dinosaurs attitude in this, right? Which is fine. It's a fine idea. What's funny is that
I'm against animal cruelty.
Of course.
Even ones that we breed.
Malcolm, funnily enough, never really, like, even though he's kind of there to help them when they're doing all their sort of like, let's free the dinosaurs and like stop this cruelty, he never actually really becomes part of that, like, that argument. He never really seems to care. He's just his attitude the entire time. I want my daughter off this damn island. What can we do to get off this island?
Yep.
Oh,
that's
dear.
all.
But so he's like, this is not a reconnaissance mission or whatever he calls it. This is now a rescue mission, and it leaves right now. And this is one of the only two times in the whole movie the main theme from the first movie plays. This movie has entirely new music for the most part. It is John Williams. However, it's not as good, and it's not that John Williams is not, obviously he's still amazing, but Jurassic Park has a great score already, and he throws.
Yeah, it's surprising that they wouldn't use it.
He throws most of it out the window.
And unless John Williams watched the movie and said, this is not worthy of my best.
Oh dear. So it's not until the very end where the main themes really come back in. There's a little bit of it that plays as Malcolm walks out of the room, and basically Hammond's just like, yes. He sort of counts with his fingers. He's like, 1, 2, 3, 4, yes, and he smiles and he sits back down, and that's thanks Hammond, we'll see you at the end.
Yep.
And they're maybe leaving in 3 days, but Sarah's already went to the island, so obviously Goldblum's like, no, we need to go. So he's with the Eddie the tech guy, and he's getting the trailers
the best
ready.
Character.
He is the best character. He's trying to teach Goldblum how to use a satellite phone, which never works. It's like, it'll work when you love it. I love it when it works.
Eddie Carr is just nothing but delightful and helpful and full of optimism, and he's the best character.
He also
I'm so glad nothing bad happens to him.
Yes. Ironically, he also meets his demise whilst in a car.
Yes.
I mean, technically the moment of death is like outside the car, but I mean, he gets grabbed when he's in the car. I'm going to count it.
Yeah.
It's the best death in the movie, though.
Serendipitous. Yeah, but I don't want it to happen to Eddie.
Yeah, that should be.
I love Eddie.
That should have been Vince Vaughn. Let's be honest. That should have been Vince Vaughn.
Yes.
So he's like, no, we need to go. His daughter shows up. Kelly, her name is, and she has a great line here, which she complains that she's been dumped off with some friend that she barely knows, and she says she doesn't even have Sega. And I was like, whoa, okay. And what's funny about this is that not only is this like obviously dating it, because Sega, haven't been making consoles in like such a long ass time. Even when this came out, this was already kind of a dated line, because this came out in 1997, and 1997, obviously they weren't done making consoles yet, but this was like during the dying period of the Sega Saturn. Like, yeah. I can't imagine a kid in 1997 going, I really want to play Sega.
Maybe she's just a big Sonic fan.
Maybe she's like one of those hipsters, that is like, oh, I'm going to like the one that no one else likes. I'm going to,
yeah, you can keep your Mario
and your PlayStation.
And your golden eyes.
But yeah, of course she sneaks on the truck or the trailer, and they all go there. The captain of the little ship they're on won't go stay in the water near the island. He's like, no, I'll go miles away, and you can call me in when it's time to come pick you up. I'm not staying around here. So
they call the island the Five Deaths.
Yes. What's
I assume that's DETH. Like Jack Death.
Jack Death. There's 5 Jack Deaths, so he's in some sort of time loop. So there's 5 of them. I don't like a lot of this build-up's a little bit weird, because in the first movie, the build-up, which admittedly isn't one of danger, it's one of wonder, right? It's not until things go wrong that things go dangerous. But what's weird about it in this movie is that we already saw the dinosaurs in the last movie, so there's no mystery for us as to exactly setting up that this is the sort of thing you do in a movie where you don't know, or the characters aren't supposed to know there's a threat, right? So you have the local who's scared of the area sort of set it up by not wanting to go near it, but in this movie it's like we know what the danger is. We know exactly. I mean, there's no surprises. Like, we know exactly what the danger is going to be. So it's having this character who's scared to go there. Other than setting up the fact that he's not just waiting by the water, they could have just said that. It's like, oh, I can't stay at the shore. I have to go out and stay in the waters until you call me in or something like that. Like. It feels a little bit
it's
forced.
not like we're gonna get there and we're gonna see King Kong and we know what we're getting. There's dinosaurs there. Of course they're dangerous.
So it feels forced to me, like they're trying to build up the suspense with this character who's scared to go. Because Goldblum's already scared. The characters are already feeling that way. Yeah. At least one of them is. So
I mean, I guess maybe Vince Vaughn doesn't really know what he's getting into, because he's kind of like, oh, you call it the Five Deaths. Interesting. But I think it's also he's kind of there for, I don't know, to be like the cool, funny guy. And I'm not a Vince Vaughn fan, so wasn't really into it.
Yeah, I'm not particularly big on Vince Vaughn. He's got a couple of roles that worked for him. I quite enjoyed Dodgeball, but I mean...
Oh, sure.
But yeah, I'm not particularly a Vince Vaughn guy.
A couple good comedies, I suppose. But I think this is around the time where people were trying to make him not a serious actor. Well, maybe. I mean, when was the Psycho remake? Around this time?
1 year later.
Oof.
Yeah. Rough time.
Or what's the movie that a lot of bros like?
Swingers?
Swingers. Yeah.
I've never seen it, but
I think it's super bro-y.
I will take your word for it.
And I do like Wedding Crashers, though. He works in that one.
I love that one, but yeah, that's fair. So they get to the island, they got the trailers, and they get to Sarah, and there's a bit of a danger at first because they find her backpack, but no, she's actually just off photographing the Stegosaurus, and she's all excited, and Goldblum's trying to rush her away. But then they have this whole scene where it gets kind of dangerous because the parents come after the kid Stegosaurus because it gets scared because the camera makes a noise, it starts making a noise and freaks it out. It's okay. I don't know, it's one of these things where I compare it to the first time we see dinosaurs in the first one. The first time, when they're in the trucks and they look up and we see the Brachiosaurus, and it's this great epic moment. And here it's almost like, oh, we have to have it be dangerous immediately. We can't just have it be the wonder again.
Yeah, I understand. There is a sense there is no safe spot on this island because nothing's contained. It is very different from Jurassic Park that way, right away. But I kind of like the scene enough. It's pretty quick. The danger's over pretty quickly. But I might just be a bit biased because I was really hoping to see a Stegosaurus, and I had to wait till this movie to get it.
Yeah, and then they find out that Kelly's there. There's a lot of back and forth in the dialogue. Probably some of the better character stuff in the movie is maybe the bickering between the three of them, just because it feels like there's actual character stuff there. It doesn't just feel as bland as some of the other stuff.
Well, this is kind of one of Spielberg's strong suits too.
No,
like
that's
just
true.
having family conversations where everyone's sort of talking on top of each other and people sound real. They sound like real people.
Because I really like the moment where he's arguing with Sarah in the trailer, and he tells Kelly to go outside, and then they have a couple other sentences, and then he notices Kelly's about to do what he said. He's like, no, go outside. It's not safe. Stay in here. Like, I actually really like that little beat.
Yeah.
That's a fun little
That's
moment.
funny. It doesn't seem like the same Ian Malcolm though. That's all.
I think you could
Like Family Man Ian Malcolm is it's a tough pill to swallow.
you could try and argue that's why he's different though, because he's there with his daughter. He's trying to, he's there because he's concerned about people, so he's trying to be really serious. He's a changed man.
Yeah.
And I like changed characters. I think the problem is that Ian Malcolm was a character who was fun because he was this particular type of like B character, right? He was this fun thing.
He was like, oh, I hate to use this, but he was kind of jazzy. He was super cool. Like he was just talking about chaos theory. He seemed like a ladies' man, but not somebody who settles down. And yeah, he purrs.
That was my attempt at the Goldblum noise he makes in the helicopter in the first one. Didn't go well, but you got what I was doing.
Yeah, like he's just super cool, and I don't know. And now we get Dad Goldblum, and it just seems so far from the Ian Malcolm we left off. They're like, okay, well, we liked Ian Malcolm because he was this cool little B character.
And I don't want to make it sound like a script should be a series of quotable lines that sound like good sound bites, but I do think there's something to be said about the fact that he has, so again, much like Hammond, he has a lot of quotable lines in the first one. But like people say, life finds a way, or well, there it is. Like people say those things all the time, and I don't think there's any line in this movie that people really quote or bring up, or like. And it's weird because he has more screen time in this one. He has
Mommy's very angry. Like that doesn't sound like Malcolm.
He has like probably 4 or 5 times as many lines of dialogue in this movie as in the last one, and yet he has far more quotable moments and lines in the first one. So
I just don't think Ian Malcolm is a hero character. And even if you give him a daughter and a girlfriend in this, you're trying to make him Alan Grant, and he's not. Like they should have just got Sam Neill.
Well, we'll get him next time, so we'll see. True. We'll see in 3 how Sam Neill fares.
Another confusing character, but that's okay. We'll get to it.
Yes, it is. We'll get to 3. This is when InGen show up, and we get a big montage of them like storming the island and like immediately like having trucks and bikes and like chasing after various dinosaurs and capturing the gunner seats for some of their vehicles and all the rest of it. And we introduce a few other characters here. Obviously, Ludlow's there. We also have Tembo, who's like the great hunter, who's here.
He Postlethwaite. Boop, boop.
To bag himself a T-Rex, the most dangerous predator on the actually, as he puts it, this island has the most dangerous predator on the planet, and I'm going to hunt the second most dangerous animal on the planet. I don't think I ever noticed that he said it that way until this viewing, and I'm like, okay, that was a neat little twist of the way he said it.
I do like his character too. He's next to Eddie Carr for me.
He's okay. I feel like this is a kind of a structural problem in the movie that it becomes a problem later. But Tembo and Vince Vaughn's character and Kelly, 3 of the major characters we spent a lot of time with, really like having through these adventures over the course of the movie. Whether or not they've been good or bad is up for debate. But when the movie shifts to the city, all those characters disappear. And we see Kelly like briefly at the very, very end, but like all those characters who are like, because they shift location, like a lot of the more interesting dynamics that might have been there before are just gone, and it becomes just chasing around the T-Rex around the city, trying to like get his attention and so on. But that always bugs me in this movie. It feels like, wait, so he just leaves the movie at this point.
I agree. Like he's only part of one storyline that ends 2/3 of the way, and then it's not like he's killed or anything. It's just my job is done. And I guess he's kind of like, people love the what was his name, the Aussie hunter in the first one.
Clever girl.
Yeah, that guy. And I guess we're gonna make that type of character again, but make him a villain, but also not somewhat like he's not really working for Engine. Like he's almost like a mercenary, but he has his own goal, so he's not really the villain. The ultimate villain is Engine, but it's he maybe it's just Pete Postlethwaite. I think he's awesome.
I feel like his arc is kind of weird to me because I don't think it goes all the way with it, because I think, like, everyone keeps telling them when they first meet up after because basically what happens is our main group sabotage all their cages, and all the dinosaurs they captured go running away and like sort of wreck a lot of their camp. And it's kind of this noble thing because we find out Vince Vaughn's actually like he's a photographer, but he's also someone who like does things like this. He's a bit of an activist when it comes to like animal rights and things like that.
Right? Didn't he say he served in like
Greenpeace,
one of the deserts, Afghanistan or something?
Yeah. So once they like actually kind of interact with each other, we're skipping over the trailer part. We'll get to that in a minute. But once they interact with each other, there's some debates amongst like hunting is wrong and leave the animals, which a sentiment I agree with, generally speaking. And it does this thing with him where he's there to live. He gets the thrill from this and all that, but he has this kind of arc where, because his friend gets killed and all this by the end, and he does get the T-Rex, he tranks the T-Rex and he gets it down, they've got it all caged up later in the movie, and he just says, I've had enough of the business of death, I'm done, and he walks off as if like he's had no satisfaction from it. And I almost felt like if he was going to have an arc where he eventually believed that he should leave the dinosaurs to live in peace, then I don't know, I felt there could be more with that. I don't know if it made its point quite as succinctly as it should have done.
I guess it's a little... There's room for a little bit more closure on his character.
Well, undercooked, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's kind of consistent with a lot of this film, though.
Yeah, that's true. Because he's actually trying to hunt... Because the reason why Sarah and Vince Vaughn find the baby T-Rex, the adolescent, is because they've actually got him like pinned as a trap for the T-Rex to come and find them. And they take him. This is the stupid moment I was referring to earlier. They take the baby T-Rex, and Ian Malcolm, as soon as they show up with the baby T-Rex, they're like, what was that? You can't have that here. This is a terrible idea. And sure enough, everything bad that happens to them from this point on is because they took this baby T-Rex. Everything.
That's why we don't have Eddie.
And it's why we don't have Eddie. Everything bad that happens.
Everything bad that happens is because of Vince Vaughn.
It's because of Vince Vaughn. Because he has to help the baby T-Rex. And sure, that's noble and all that, but like, it's actually really dangerous because the mummy and daddy T-Rex are going to come and looking for it. And as they explain later, because they've had to defend this area, they're now like re-establishing what their territory is. So now they're going to be changing their patterns, and they're so unpredictable. And now we're screwed. We have to go and find ways to communicate with the island or the choppers or whatever. So, it like everything happens because Vince Vaughn's an idiot and brought that T-Rex baby back to the trailer.
Yep.
But then we get the one good scene in the movie. So the two T-Rexes. What's weird about this is I remember as a kid thinking that when they come out to kill Eddie, that was the reveal that there was two T-Rexes, but watching it now, like, no, there's clearly two the entire time, like when they come out to the trailer.
Yeah, I mean, you see one at first, and then the second one shows up pretty quickly, and you realize that they're surrounded by T-Rex, which is very cool.
Is this basically what they did to up the danger? We'll have two T-Rexes.
Yeah.
Jurassic Park 2.
How do you write a song that's 5,000 times better than Candle in the Wind? 5,000 candles in the wind.
Bye, bye, little Sebastian.
5,000 candles in the wind.
Parks and Rec. What a show. So yeah, we got that's a pretty decent action scene. You got them. They kind of like slowly give the baby T-Rex out, and then they think they're safe for a second, and Malcolm just has a moment. He's like, "This is going to be very bad," and then all of a sudden, the T-Rexes intentionally sort of hit the trailer off the side of the cliff, which, for the record, like, it's not as egregious as the first movie where the cliff appears out of nowhere, But given where we saw the trailer come from during daylight, you know, where it came in, I don't remember there being any hint of a cliff nearby.
Oh yeah, there's definitely a cliff because you can see the InGen like equipment showing up and stuff, and they're looking off of the cliff and they're watching it. Yeah, it's there. It's still a confusing place to park, but
that's like sometimes one of my cats will lie with their back right next to the edge of the bed and then be surprised later on when they wake up almost falling off of it. What do you think was going to happen?
Yeah, I love this scene. This scene is great, and it's you can tell they were proud of it, you know, because it is like the centerpiece of the movie.
Oh, it is, yeah, because we got the whole thing where it's dangling off the side of the cliff and they're hanging on. Julianne Moore like falls and hits the glass at the bottom, which is, you know,
the glass is like slowly cracking, and you're like, ooh, it is tense.
Yeah,
like,
and then eventually when they're down there and things are really bad and they're hanging on, you know, Eddie shows up, you know, because Eddie's been up in the high. They've got this sort of lift thing
with
up
the
in
daughter,
trees.
yeah.
And Eddie comes in with a car and he's got like a winch and he puts a rope around the tree and he throws the rope down so they can start climbing up. But then the actual trailer, because it's like because it's a 2-part trailer, so there's one on the ground and there's one dangling off the cliff. And it starts to slide off in the mud. And he sees this, and Joe is actually really good about this scene. It's a lot funnier than you think it would be, because there's a moment in here with the hijinks where Eddie like sees it sliding and he goes over to the car and he gets the winch at the front of the car and he like hooks it on and he does a lot of stuff, and just as he like gets it all tied up, then the rope that's like they're climbing up gives way, and he has to run over there, grab that, put it around and do like an even better knot so that it'll be fine and not die. And as soon as he ties that knot, he looks over and the car that's wenched to the trailer starts sliding with the trailer.
Yeah.
So, and it's that moment, it's when he looks over at the car and it's sliding, it's starting to move. I actually started laughing because this is almost a slapstick comedy, like how much he's going back and forth between the two things.
You can add some Benny Hill music to it and it would be pretty funny. It's great. I mean, plus it's just one more thing to be like, Eddie, what a good guy.
Yeah, he gave his life to save them. He's in the car.
Yeah, he's doing everything, and then he's in the car, he's going in the reverse, and who shows up? The 2 T-Rex again.
Yep.
And even though he's totally exposed in the rain to these 2 T-Rexes, he's still hitting that reverse. What a guy.
One T-Rex grabs him, pulls him out, and I do actually love this moment because they throw him up in the air, they both grab him and then rip him apart in half. It's kind of an amazing visual.
Oh, it's violent.
It's the best visual of it.
No way for a good character to go.
If any, yeah, it's weird. I feel this feels like it should be the death of like Ludlow or something. Although Ludlow does get a pretty good death at the end, admittedly. You know.
Yeah, he does.
But like,
it's just we don't get
Joe, should
we don't really get a whole lot of like deaths that we get to see. We get this one for Eddie. We get one for the mute guy from Fargo, and then we get the Ludlow at the end, and like that's really it, right?
The mute guy? You mean Peter Stormare? His character, the one who like just shocks the little.
The one from Fargo. I only know him from this in Fargo.
I remember him being mute in that. I remember there being a mute character.
He's not really mute, but he just doesn't talk.
Is this the movie we're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay, I was saying a TV show.
Talk, and so Steve Buscemi always calls him mute because Steve Buscemi cannot help himself but talk.
Oh, of course, movie. Yeah. Maybe he should have gotten this T-Rex death. You know, like I know it's meant to be just because he shocked one of the little ones and the little ones kill him, but you know.
Yeah, and that death is okay. It's a bit of a stretch, but I mean, I guess it's kind of interesting that something so small can be still overwhelming when there's so many of them.
Yeah. And
it is funny that he's the big tough guy and he gets defeated by the smallest dinosaur on the island.
Yeah. Like, it kind of feels just a little bit like, I don't know. This is my thing. Like, I feel like a lot of the characters are blander versions of what we had in the first one. I think, Ludlow is kind of a mix between like a sort of bad version of Hammond and the lawyer, right? That's kind of like what it is. And then you have, like you say, Tembo's kind of the update on Clevigill, man, from the first one. And then we have this guy who, I mean, he's not really the Nedry, but he kind of gets the Nedry death. Nedry. Yeah, like he's a different type of character, but he has that kind of death. I don't know. It feels like it's just remixed some of the elements of the first one, and does what it does. Anyway, eventually, after his death, the truck does go down, but we get this shot of like them sort of hanging out of the rope, and the trucks, the trailer goes around, it falls down around them essentially, and they just stay in place. And then eventually, the rest of the InGen people show up to help them, and they're stuck together. They have to make it away across the island to get to this communication station, but that means going through raptor territory, which is very dangerous. And see, watching this again now, the moment when because there's like a sort of guy with a cowboy hat with long hair who's kind of the expert for the InGen
he's
guys.
like the paleontologist that's hired by InGen.
I think it's this scene actually, where, because I noted this in my head, that they actually repeated a shot here from the first movie. You know the shot in the first movie when they first see dinosaurs, right? And then they're asking Hammond like, how fast they are and so on and so on. There's a shot where Ellie is like sort of further back and Hammond's right up and close to the frame, and she says, "Oh, you've got a T-Rex?" And he's like, "We've got a T-Rex." And then Sam Neill pops his head in like right in front of Hammond, and it comes in from the left, and he's like, "Say again. We've got a T-Rex." Like it's that moment,
you just
right?
Wanted to bring this up.
No, I'm serious. Like they do this shot again. I can't remember who's standing in the back, but Ian Malcolm, Jeff Goldblum does this moment because I noticed it was set up right. Where he's,
I can see it,
and then he steps. He's like, Raptors. Yeah, like they do the same shot, and I was like, I don't know if I like that they do the same shot or if I'm annoyed that they're just repeating shots. Like I don't know if it has any like worth
maybe we're
here.
Just seeing the strings of Spielberg. He's like, this worked last time, so maybe he has a scene like that in all of his movies. We just didn't know.
But it really stuck out to me, and I don't think I'd ever like noticed it before, and like sort of, but hey, that was a shot in the first one. Maybe it's just because this is the first time in a long time that I've watched them close together, where I can remember those details.
I don't watch Lost World. Like I skip it a lot.
Yeah, I don't really either. I feel like I used to watch it a lot as a kid because again, you convince yourself you like things as a kid. I think as an adult, I watched the first one, and that's really it in terms of rewatching.
Yeah, really, I watched the first one, and it's I think I thought this movie would be better watching it again because it is still Spielberg, and I remember a lot of the shots being really good. But to be honest, like, it's not. It feels like Spielberg like was forced to make this movie, and he did, he didn't have the passion for it or something, because a lot of it feels quick.
Yeah. Well, this is the weird thing. It's like if you actually look at the runtime, the trailer stuff is actually almost bang on halfway through the movie, and then the rest of the stuff on the island does go in really quick. There's kind of various montages of them walking. The next big stuff that happens, other than that one guy's death, is when the T-Rexes show up when they're in the tents, and like Sarah's in a tent with Kelly, and she's trying to like stay quiet as the T-Rex is kind of poking its head in the tent. And then after that, the carnage happens, and like everyone goes running. Cowboy Hat Man like ends up getting eaten because he gets scared because a snake goes down his shirt, and he like runs out of the waterfall that they're all hiding in. And
I like that moment.
I like the moment.
The waterfall turns red.
I like the blood. Yeah, I like the blood in the water. I do like that moment. Like, this is the thing. There's so many little things in this that are quite good. There's lots of little. I could probably list like a good 5 or whatever. Like, the trailer scene in general, really good. I'll include the Eddie stuff afterwards with that too. Right. Blood turning red here, pretty good. And then there's some other ones. I said one earlier and I've forgotten it now already. But like, or even just don't go outside that moment. Like, there's just little funny.
The family stuff in the trailer is decent.
So we do get the long grass. We get don't go in the grass.
Don't go into the long grass.
Yes, that's the
Which
one.
is a scene I remember really liking in the theater, and it's still pretty good here. I don't really love the stuff later on with the raptors, but It might just be because I know there's a scene coming that I just hate.
I think it's because the weird thing here is that the Raptors got a lot more time in the first movie, or at least a lot more kind of like notable time, in the sense that all their stuff at the end of the first movie was them properly stalking people through a building, right? And that was really exciting. And this stuff in the grass, and then the stuff that happens after around the sort of the center they go to, like it does kind of like the stuff in the grass is kind of like okay, but it doesn't have the geography because they're just kind of hiding.
It's okay. Really, the part that's good is just the overhead shot where you can see the raptors like going through the grass towards them. And it's like, ooh, that's good.
Or maybe,
but after that, I think it's because the raptors and the people are in the open so much that it's just kind of you can't get me. I'm behind a car. Now I'm in the car. Now you're in the car, and I'm out the car. And it's just like, I don't know. Like there's no tension there.
And there's also the digging underneath the wall, like there's that sort of wooden wall that the raptors like digging under to get in, and the head's
kind of like that part
poking out.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, I mean that's okay as a moment.
I like seeing the digging, but like a dog.
Again, it's
maybe
like
because it's kind of practical. I like that moment, but
it's them
but then
being
all the
smart.
stuff where they're like chasing them up the building, and
like some of it's the raptors showing their intelligence, like the digging, and that's fine. Like some of the other stuff is just kind of, you know, it's whatever. Like I don't necessarily mind the stuff in the car and like the dodging and whatever. It's okay. Vince Vaughn actually ran ahead and called for help, so there's a helicopter coming, which is the weird thing here is they just kind of like so Malcolm ends up like, you know, sort of running from a raptor, and Kelly and Sarah are already up really high in this building. And earlier on in the film, there was one conversation that referenced the fact that she was on a gymnastics team and she got kicked off the team in school, which leads to this scene where, to save her dad, she jumps onto like a pipe or whatever it is and does some gymnastics. She's sort of like,
without any chalk.
Without chalk. Do you know what I hate about this moment though? It really bugs me, is that she swings a couple of times and then she sort of stops and starts swinging the other way, and all I could think was, you literally just like stopped your momentum. Like you started again. Like like why did you?
I don't know. It looked like a real gymnast move to me, but it's
that's a real gymnast.
Perfectly high-low bars that are set, and
oh no, yeah, that's stupid. But like, it's not that it's not a real gymnast move. I'm questioning it in the context of what she's actually doing. It felt like she was putting an unnecessarily twists into this to make it look fancier.
All the flourish.
Yeah, there was flourish that didn't need to be. And maybe she doesn't know how to do it any other way because she's always putting on.
She did get kicked off the team.
Yeah. But she kicks the raptors through a wall, and I don't know, kid with gymnastics beating the raptor kind of makes the raptors feel like a bunch of chumps.
It really does. It's so cringy. Like even as a kid who's probably around the same age as Kelly in the film when I went to watch it, and a kid who also did gymnastics, and I should love this moment. And I remember watching it and going, oh, I hate this. Why is this in here?
And what's weird
Kids
to me
should not be able to defeat a raptor with strength.
No.
I don't know. Or it's just so cheesy.
It's really cheesy. What gets me though is that after this they come out of the building and like Vince Vaughn's up top in the helipad and he's like, here, come on, the helicopter's here, and the helicopter's arriving. What I thought was really weird is that they just kind of hobble from there up to the helicopter, and I'm like, those two raptors are still like around. Like, well, actually no, the one that went out of the wall get impaled, that's right, the one that she kicked actually dies from getting impaled in a pipe. So
yeah,
she did kill one, but like
another one fell off the roof. But
yeah, I'd imagine that one's okay though, right? Maybe a little injured, but still.
Something might have happened after, because she falls off the roof too. I don't remember what happens.
I remember her throwing down slates, like she's sort of like taking the slates off the roof and like sort of launching them at the raptor.
Yeah, and then she slips also.
Yeah, that was the whole thing. So this is basically this
right
is
into the raptor's mouth.
This is them leaving the island. This is like, you know, like and they notice that the T-Rex has been captured, and they're going to ship that back. But this is the end of the whole island segment, and we jump a little bit of time ahead. Not a lot of time, because we know it's not that far from San Diego, this island. Comparatively speaking, it's not like it's like 10 hours on a plane. It's a couple hours on a plane. So this boat comes in at the wee hours of the morning, and I have so many questions.
Me too.
About some of this. First of all, how did the T-Rex get back into the containment area where the roof, even though the guy like who was hitting the button had his arm ripped off? Like how did he get back in there?
How did he get into the bridge of the ship with his giant head and eat everybody without breaking any glass?
Which actually, that's the other thing that was not mentioned, is this was a complaint in the first movie as well, admittedly, but it was really notable right from the get-go in this one, is that the T-Rexes, much like slasher villains,
so sneaky.
They can be as quiet as they want to be until they want to give us the loud noise, the thumping to sell the tension. But
yeah, they are so sneaky. They're ninjas. They are ninja T-Rex in this movie. Yeah, you're right. The first movie is guilty of that too, but only in the last scene, which is confusing, but whatever. That movie's a 10.
This movie is not. So I've always been baffled by that, and of course immediately the T-Rex gets out and goes on a rampage, and we get a sequence of events of like going for a drink in a swimming pool, eating the dog that's in the little dog house.
That's a good part though. There's a dinosaur in my backyard.
Yeah, I don't. That's the thing. Like some of these little things that happen when he's in the city, I don't mind them on their own. Like I think if the movie was more about dinosaurs escaping the park that's meant to be in the city that we see, sort of mostly built later. I'd be fine if that was the premise of the movie. But we see that, and the parents losing their shit when they actually see it's a real dinosaur. We see a bizarre Easter egg. I don't know. Did you notice this in the video store?
Oh. No.
So at one point when the T-Rex is going down the street and the bus is like getting hit by it, which again I like the idea of the T-Rex hitting the bus, but there's a guy who tries to run into the video store, right? Did you not notice the stand-up that was at the front of the store?
No, I don't think so.
It's
a nighttime scene though, so I had the whole blotchy thing.
It was Arnold Schwarzenegger in a production of King Lear. It was something like that. If it wasn't King Lear, it was something like that. But it was like a Shakespeare. It wasn't Hamlet. I remembered Hamlet because that's Last Action Hero.
So this is a parallel universe.
Apparently, this is a parallel universe. I noticed that because the other ones were real. Because I always notice these things whenever I go to a movie store in a movie or whatever. I'll notice the posters of the time or.
I always try to look too. I don't know. I didn't see it this time.
And I was like, wait, what? Is that maybe like a weird like wink wink remember Last Action Hero joke? Because I don't know. It's not like Spielberg was involved in that. It's not like
But Last Action Hero, he went to the joke was that he wasn't on the posters, that it was Stallone.
Well but it's still reference to Last Action Hero, because in Last Action Hero you see him as Hamlet. Remember the kid has a dream sequence? Or he doesn't have a dream sequence. He interprets Hamlet as if it's like an Arnold movie. To be or not to be, right. Not to be. That. How did you forget the Hamlet scene?
Not to be.
Claudius.
Been a long time.
Claudius, you killed my father.
Yeah. Great Charles Dance villain.
Oh, Charles! Just for years, that's what I knew Charles Dance from. Everyone else talks about him in Game of Thrones. I'm like, no, he's the bad guy in Last Action Hero. You filthy casuals! How dare you?
Definitely.
He's also in Alien 3, which we'll do at some point. But Last Action. Sorry, Lost World. Back to Lost World. I could talk about Last Action Heroes. Doesn't get as. I mean, it's not the best Arnold movie, but it gets less love than it should.
Fun. It's so fun.
Like when the kid tries to get him to swear and he can't because it's a PG-13, so you can't say that word.
There's so many good jokes in it. That one doesn't get a lot of love. You're right, but it should. It's great.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but is that not the movie where the 2 days from retirement joke comes from?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah, the cops. There's just two. I mean, what I'm saying is, was that already like a running thing, and the movie just makes a joke about it, or did the movie invent that joke? I'm not sure. That's what I know it from originally.
Oh no, I'm fairly sure it was a trope already.
Okay, all right, that's fine then. That's fine.
Yeah.
I love see when he goes to see the movie at the start and you see the opening titles for this like Jack Slater 4, and it's like every credit's on a different wall that breaks, and it's like oh, that's actually so good.
It's sci-fi, right?
But the T-1000 walks past at one point and the kid starts freaking. He's like, the T-1000. He starts freaking out. Oh, it's quality, man. Quality.
Robert Patrick, what a sport.
I know. He played that character in like so many movies because he was in Wayne's World like 1 or 2. Like he had a cameo as the T-1000 in that. Because he pulls him over and says, "Have you seen this boy?" And yeah, so yeah, he's a good sport. Anyway, so the plan becomes that if we get the baby T-Rex, it'll lure the big T-Rex, and we can lure him back to the ship and set it on autopilot or so. Like
the ship's busted. The ship just rammed itself into a pier. Like that thing needs to go into dry dock.
I also couldn't help but think about the fact that this came out probably like just a few months before Titanic did, and that they've got a ship crashing into a dock, and no, obviously Titanic didn't crash into a dock. It never made it to the dock. That's kind of the famous part of Titanic. But you know,
don't spoil it.
Oh dear. I love the idea of like making a Titanic 2, right? And like all the audience thinks the ship's going to crash eventually, but you just don't. You just pull into port. You get to New York, like twist ending, then crash.
I think there was a second Titanic, not like a movie, but like an actual second ship.
Me and Carl looked this up when we were doing A Night to Remember. There was actually, there was meant to be a second one, or there was like a
because did they film parts of that movie on there?
There was like a sister ship or two sister ships,
something like that. Yeah. Wasn't there one called the Titanic too? Oh, maybe not.
I think maybe
they changed the name.
I think that was something that was meant to happen recently, or is going to happen soon. I don't know. It's one of those things where
tangent.
Yeah, but it's one of those things where after Apollo 13, the NASA decided to never put the number 13 in any missions ever again because it's just asking for bad luck. I feel like they should never call another ship Titanic. You know what? I mean, I know we've got better tech now, we've got better, satellite technology, and we're really good at all this shit. How about we just don't chance it? Just don't chance it. We call it Titanic, all right? As funny as it is.
Nobody's gonna want to be on it.
Do you know what? I feel like there's a comedy beat where Titanic 2, everyone's all goes, oh, that's the future now. We're not going to have any problems. And they somehow still hit an iceberg and they're going to die. And they're like...
Yeah, there's a Futurama episode about that.
I almost imagine like the captain of the ship just looking at the camera as if he's like Jim from The Office with a like, are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me?
Who knows? Maybe that's the premise of that new HBO show, Avenue 5.
Oh, yeah, maybe. So, which I've probably started by the time this goes up. Well, maybe not. We're not that far ahead.
I think it's January.
Yeah. January. You really drew that out.
I'm sleepy.
So they get the baby T-Rex, they sort of like lure the big T-Rex back to the ship, get it on. Our villain needs to meet his demise, of course. Ludlow ends up in the cargo with the T-Rex and the baby. But we got a cute little moment where the T-Rex is like, no, this is your kill, baby. This is your first kill. On you go. So the baby T-Rex does the kill. He deserves it.
It was very sweet. Oh, nature.
And movie plotting realms, he deserved it.
Yes. Take that, Joker.
It's a villain. Take that, Joker.
That's his name. His code name in Full Metal Jacket.
Ah, very good. I'll confuse him.
Nothing to do with the Joker.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm going to think of because I'm a DC nerd.
Nerd.
Oh, do we have to talk about your Star Trek fandom like anytime soon? Because
we can move on.
last I checked, comic books were more mainstream right now than Trek is.
we'll see. We'll see after the Tarantino movie who's got the last laugh.
Oh, did you not see? He's pulling away from it. He's leaning towards Kill Bill 3 instead.
Well, I disapprove.
I'm sorry, T, but I don't think it's happening. You're getting Star Trek 4 with the cast coming back, by the sounds of it.
Okay. I mean, I'll take it, but I want that Tarantino movie.
So, yeah, he gets killed, and then there's on TV, Hammond quotes Malcolm, says, "Life has found a way," or no, that's the last line, because he builds up to it. He gives a speech about how we shouldn't interfere. They should thrive in spite of us. They should thrive away from us, and life will find a way. And as he finishes his speech, we get a final shot of the island, which I thought was a weird shot because the T-Rex are maybe I don't know, 50 feet from the Stegosaurus herd that's walking there. I'm like, they wouldn't be this close. Mm-hmm. This seems really dangerous for some of these dinosaurs. Yeah.
They're all just living in harmony.
And I'm going to get corrected, but I don't know what to call them, so I'm just going to say pterodactyl comes swooping in, and
I think it is pterodactyl.
I'm pretty sure I found out after this, like what we think about as pterodactyls aren't really dinosaurs or something stupid like that. I don't know. I'm no expert. I don't claim to be an expert. I'm going to call them pterodactyls. Okay.
I think they are. I think they're dinosaurs.
Okay. Hey, you'll know better than I do.
There's prehistoric birds and there's pterodactyls, and they are separate, but also birds are a type of dinosaur.
Do you know what I love? I love that the third movie had to have pterodactyls in it because this ending kind of said, hey, we've got pterodactyls now. And
yeah, it is a tease.
And everyone would have been pissed because they're not in the rest of the movie. They're just here at the end. So everyone would have been pissed if there was no pterodactyls in 3. So they make a big point of making it a big part of 3 is that there's the whole pterodactyl cage.
Yeah, but I mean, not to spoil anything about our next review, but that scene on the bridge with the pterodactyl walking out of the shadows or the mist is a 10 out of 10. It's such a cool moment.
Look, I'm going to spoil my thoughts, and I might change my mind. I've not seen 3 in a long time, but I will say this now: I have always preferred 3 to Lost World.
Oh, me too.
I've always preferred 3, so we'll find out how well that holds up. And it's funny because at the start you sort of jokingly said, this open is like a B movie, but the reason why I like 3 is that it's a B movie and it knows it's a B movie and just does B movie things.
Yeah, that's the thing though, right? Like Jurassic Park is a B movie with the budget, and like you said this before, like some of your favorite movies are movies that should be B movies but are taken seriously.
Yeah,
this one is a B movie with the budget and it wants to be the first one, but there's nothing there. Like it's a B movie script with an A movie budget, but it fails. And this the third one is just like, okay, let's just give the people what they want. They want monsters. Let's just give them what they want.
And it's also a lot leaner because this movie is over 2 hours long, and the third one, if I remember correctly, is a much closer to 90 minutes, and it's more lean and let's just have the adventure. Let's do what you want. And
yeah, it goes, gets into it quickly, and yeah, it delivers what you want. Yeah. I think I'm going to be, I haven't seen it in a while also, but I think I'm probably going to be rating it higher, especially because this watch was disappointing.
And don't get me wrong, I am fascinated to revisit because it's a really stupid moment, but I kind of love it for how bad it is in 3. But I can't wait for the phone inside the Spinosaurus, where it's just standing there. You just hear do 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 do, and it's just standing there, and I'm like, wait. So you heard the phone from miles away and went to find it, but you didn't hear any footsteps from this Spinosaurus. And first of all, I'm pretty sure that skin is thick enough to mask the entire sound of that phone. There's no way in hell you would even hear it. Maybe you'd faintly hear it if you were right up, pressed against it or something like that. But
yeah, it's definitely stupid.
My phone, my phone, which is a much newer, more advanced phone than the phone in Jurassic Park 3 that came out in 2001. And this will ring in the other room and I won't hear it. Never mind, miles away in the jungle when it's inside the belly of a giant dinosaur. So. I mean, anyway, that's for next time. We'll talk about Jurassic Park 3 in depth when we get there. I'm looking forward to revisiting it and seeing how I feel. So
yeah, me too. A few more weeks.
few more weeks, yeah, but a month from now. So that's basically the movie. Like I hope we found a way to have some fun talking about this, because I think the movie, it suffers from mostly just having a lot of bland characters, and it doesn't do enough to separate itself from the action of the first one, even though it sounds like, oh, there's no fences, that should make it more exciting. But to be honest, the fences actually gave the first movie some rules that eventually it could break, and when it broke the fences, because the fences were no longer dangerous or safe, or whatever way you want to phrase it, that told us, oh shit, things just turned up. Whereas in this movie, it's a lot more vague to like, okay, so like we're kind of safe in the outskirts of the island, but oh no, we're not, and like the rules have changed now anyway. Like it doesn't have.
And you murdered Eddie Carr. Can't forgive it.
And how dare you murder Eddie Carr? Like I feel like the second movie doesn't have a clear structure or a clear escalation that makes it fun to watch. Like the first movie definitely does.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's problem number one. Problem number two is just trying to recapture the first movie too much. And not knowing who the characters are from the first one, like it doesn't seem like a natural evolution of this character that we saw in the first movie. I really don't think Ian Malcolm should have been the star of this one. Yeah, and it's just
even though he's a fan favorite, but
honestly, like, I mean, obviously we'll get to Jurassic World and Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom, and what's weird about Fallen Kingdom is I only just reviewed that when it came out, like not that long ago really, but like
it was like last year.
Yeah, I'm actually kind of excited to watch it again though, to see how I feel about it, because I had like, it's not a good movie, but there was definitely half of that movie that I kind of loved for how, like what it was doing, even though it was bad. Yeah. Right?
There's a monster in the house. That's great.
Whereas like it was embracing its B moviness, and one of the things I like about 3 is that it just knows it's a B movie. Let's just have fun with the B moviness of it, right? And I think Jurassic Park movies, much like Friday the 13th movies, could just keep continuing. I mean, they're a lot more expensive, obviously, so they have to do better, but they could continue forever like Friday the 13th, because when I go to see a Friday the 13th sequel, I just want Jason killing people in inventive ways. I just want more killing. I don't want anything fancy. And I think I kind of
want Jason Takes Manhattan.
I love Jason Takes Manhattan. That boxing scene is like freaking amazing, right? Freaking amazing. Dear. And I don't care that they shot most of it in Vancouver. I really don't. Like, it doesn't matter. They're in the city streets and Jason's walking around with a machete. That's all I care about. Oh dear. Anyway, yeah, go check out me and Tim's review of almost all of the Friday the 13th movies so far, on Streams After Midnight if you're interested.
Highly recommend.
But we're at the point now where we have to rate The Lost World, Jurassic Park. So, Tara, what would you give it?
Well, I don't really like this movie very much. There maybe a quarter of the film I'm into and I think is really well done, and then the rest of it is messy and not as good as it should be, like, which it should be the tagline for the poster. I think. I mean, you got a great cast.
Do you know
you've got
on the poster, right? So the tagline in the first one was 65 million years in the making, right? And the tagline for Jurassic World, which I thought was also really good, was just "the park is open." That means a lot to us, right? If you're a Jurassic Park fan, the park is open means a lot.
Yeah, especially after, having such a wait between the films.
The tagline on the Lost World poster, right? So the first one's 65 million years in the making, which is a really witty tagline. The tagline on Lost World is "something has survived."
That's right. I remember that.
That's all it is. That is so boring.
Something has survived, but like nothing died on the island. So, I mean, I guess they do address the lysine thing like right away in the film. So I guess we're supposed to remember that fact from the first movie when we read the tagline for the sequel. But of course, like presumably the Isla Nublar also has a ton of dinosaurs on it.
Interestingly, Jurassic Park 3's poster does not have a tagline.
No, it's just the pterodactyl.
Well, it's the logo's got the Spinosaurus in it, and it's got a different color scheme, but the shadow of the pterodactyl's over the whole thing.
Yeah. Anyway, So
But yeah, we were in it.
yeah, it's not a difficult movie to watch. It's just, I think, because the first one's so masterfully done that this is just so disappointing, and I have to punish it.
Oh.
So I'm giving it a 5. It's pretty low.
You really like agonized over that there and felt you had to justify it. I am going to just jump in and say it is a 5 out of 10. I agree.
Okay.
That's the number. It is.
I just don't want to give a Jurassic Park movie by Steven Spielberg a 5, but it's a 5.
That means on average, these Jurassic Park movies are a 7.5.
Hey, not bad. Not his best, but not bad.
Yeah, it's just really bland. It's really middling. It's like you say, it's not difficult to watch. It's not a terrible movie by any means. It's very serviceable. But that's probably the most frustrating thing about it, is it's just so serviceable. It's constantly serviceable, but serviceable isn't fun or exciting. A couple of bright spots, but otherwise, I have to go with a 5. So I agree.
Okay.
There you go. That is The Lost World, Jurassic Park. And of course, in about a month's time, we'll be back with Jurassic Park 3. Of course, next week, though, we have something else for you. We have actually not even a movie next week. Next week, because it is the end of the year, and I haven't quite timed to see if this next one goes up before the end of December or the start of January, but next time we will be doing a countdown episode. Instead of reviewing a film, me and Tara have both made our top 25 science fiction movies of the decade lists, and we're going to reveal our lists and probably what will be a nice, I mean, they're all meaty episodes with us, to be honest, we talk a lot, but it'll be a nice...
I bet our lists are going to be very different.
Probably. Joe, this is the thing, I think if we do it, let's say this goes for 10 years and we do it again in 10 years time, I think our list for the next decade will be a lot more similar, because we'll be making a point of seeing a lot of the same films, we'll be talking about them together. You know, I think that...
Yeah, plus you can kind of talk me up or down a score a bit. So
you're blaming me? You saying I'm influencing you?
Well, a little bit. I mean, sometimes I come in and I'm like, I don't know if I like that. And then I talk to, and because of our conversation, like, actually there was a lot in there. Maybe I do like this more.
I mean, to be fair, that's happened with me too. There's definitely been reviews with Connor or whoever, where I'll come in thinking, oh, that was okay. And then by the time I get done talking about it, I'm like, you know what, it's actually pretty good. Actually talking about it draws out a lot of the elements and the quality that maybe...
And I think that makes an experience, that's part of the experience of the film, is being able to let it sit for a while and be like, oh, I find myself thinking about this movie a whole lot. Like, I wasn't sure if I liked Hereditary when I saw it in the theater, but actually it stuck with me for a while. Oh. So it turns out I do like it.
So yeah, there you go. So next week we'll be doing our top 25 sci-fi movies of the decade. That's 2010 to 2019. Hopefully should be lively. So you can let us know what yours are in that episode in the comments. But you can let us know what you think of this movie in the comments to this episode, and you can like and subscribe. You can ding the bell on YouTube to make sure you get the notifications, and you can of course support us by rating the audio podcast on Apple Podcasts. Give us 5 stars. More people find us that way. It really helps us out a lot, as does of course supporting us financially over at patreon.com/MailFuzzTV, which Tara did obviously plug before the start of the spoiler section, so I won't necessarily do the whole thing again, but I'll just remind you of it. It exists, and go and have a look. But yeah, that is us. Otherwise, yeah, I mentioned Screams After Midnight earlier, horror movie podcast I do with Tim. Check out that. Check out some other stuff. Recently I did the Star Wars Rise of Skywalker review with Matt and Connor. That was a 2.5 hour dissection of an episode, so go and have a look at that. And yes, we are aware that is technically science fiction. Shouldn't that be on this show? And one day it will be, when we have to go through the entire franchise.
So you get to watch it again.
But it'll be a while, because I'm not going to do it twice, like, close to each other. That's
lucky
madness.
For you, the patrons have decided that you don't need to watch it yet.
Thank you, patrons. You made me do a lot of bad stuff, but I'll take that as a victory. So there you go. That is very much it. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching sci-fi movies, guys. And computer, that's salsa.
Yum yum.